I'm going to show you with a very quick and dirty test, quick, dirty, and graphic test using paper, the difference between a good chef's knife and a very good to excellent chef's knife. Now, how well a knife cuts through your food is a function of the very edge of the blade. The finer the edge, the harder the edge, the keener the edge, the more easily it'll slice through your food, whether that's meat, vegetables, or through the joints of a chicken that you're taking apart. Knife quality is determined by the quality of the steel. Better steel is harder, which means it can hold a sharper edge at a keener angle. And I'm going to show you now with 5 different cooking knives the difference that blade quality makes to cutting ability with a proxy. I'm going to use paper. And you will see here the difference between steel quality and even sharpening quality. Now I'm going to begin here with this, my old trusty standby. This is my 8-inch 210mm Henckels. Single guy Henckels. It's an older knife, so this was forged, not stamped. Here's a nice thick blade there. Very sturdy, stable performer. This is my trusty go-to knife that never fails me, and I can even abuse it a little bit if I need to by cutting through melons or other things. I treat it like a yodeba. This particular knife was sharpened on Japanese whetstones to about, I believe I went up to 5,000 grit on this one. Just rolling out a sheet of notepaper, and let's see how this does. This knife is arguably sharper than the vast majority of knives that you'll find in people's kitchens. It doesn't really bite in very cleanly, doesn't want to cut through, and it shreds more than it actually cuts. I have to put a fair bit of effort into it, and you notice it doesn't cut cleanly. It just sort of forces its way through and eventually somehow cuts. So, this is a Henckels. Single guy Henckels, hand sharpened to about 5,000 grit. Next step up, let's look at a twin Henckels, Pro S. And I believe it's Pro S. In any case, it is a twin Henckels. This guy is really an orphan. I adopted him. He came from an abused home where the edge was not taken care of, and when I got my hands on it, it was no better than a butter knife. I have since taken it to a keen edge to about 5,000 grits. This steel is better than the previous Henckels that you saw. How does it perform? It also doesn't bite in as cleanly. It forces its way through, but at least it gets through. It's a messy cutter. Okay, so you've now seen 2 German knives, 2 very good quality German knives actually, including particularly this guy. It's a twin S. Pro S, whatever they call it. It's a Henckels twin. This, by comparison, is a Tanaka 240mm gyuto with VG-10 stainless steel cutting core. I have hand sharpened this guy to 10,000 grits, and let's take a look at the difference in performance. Around the surface, bites in, cuts. Bites in, cuts. Clean. Bites in, cuts. 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 I think you can see a difference. Now here's a little bit of a twist. This next knife is a Takeda 270mm in Blue Super or Algomi Super cutting core. This is arguably the best knife that I have. But the thing is, I bought this knife secondhand, and the previous owner told me he sharpened it to 5,000 grit. But I don't know what his sharpening skill is like, so let's see how this knife performs. Again, rounded surface, let's see how it grips. Doesn't bite in as well. Oh, here we go, it's starting to bite. But you notice it's not as keen a performer at the beginning as my Tanaka. But still far better than the Henckels, either of the Henckels. So you can see in this particular case, better steel, but obviously the sharpening job is not as good as Tanaka. So this performs better than either the Henckels because of the steel quality, but because of the sharpening quality, well, it needs some help. Finally, I will use my 300mm Fujitake gyutos. It's actually a VG-1 steel, from what I recall, sharpened by me to 10,000 grit. And let's see how this guy performs. Round the paper again as before. Bites and cuts, very clean. So there you have it. The Henckels are good, wholesome, well, I don't know if wholesome is the right word, but the two Henckels are good German blades. In better condition than most people's blades, but still limited by the quality of the steel. And you saw how they fought to try to bite into the paper and then to try to cut it. It was messy. Then we went to the Tanaka VG-10 core. Very good steel, very well sharpened, and it just bit into the paper right away, cuts through cleanly. Bit into the paper, cuts through cleanly. Perfect. Then we had the Takeda. This guy here. Very good steel core, but I don't know how good it was, how well it was sharpened. I don't know how good that previous owner's sharpening abilities were. And as you saw, it fought a little bit, it struggled a little bit, but was still better than the better than the two Henckels. And then we had the Fujitake, the last one that we saw here. VG-1 steel, maybe arguably not as good as the VG-10 steel of the Tanaka, but also still sharpened up to 10,000 grit by me, and as you saw, it performed pretty well. So I hope that you can take from this demonstration a rather personally supported belief that better quality knives do indeed cut better, at least when it comes to using epoxy-like paper. Maybe next time I'll show you with meats and vegetables, but for now this will have to do. Until then, have fun in the kitchen!